Welcome to Playing Above the Line, where we interview entrepreneurs, business owners, and community activists to get their thoughts and perspectives on leadership. Playing Above the Line is sponsored by Aviso Group, a business consulting and accounting firm focused on preparing clients for the future through innovation and positive growth. Welcome to Playing Above the Line. I'm Alan, your host, and I'm excited about today's episode because our guest is doing something very cool, and I'm interested to learn more about it. Our guest is Brinkley Hutchings, and she is the founder, director, program facilitator of Nature Connect. So, Brinkley, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So I do want to get into what exactly Nature Connect is, but first let me just start by asking you to kind of talk about your childhood a little bit. You grew up on the shores of the Mobile Bay in Baldwin County, South Alabama, and I know based on your show primer that kind of shaped what you're doing now. So just talk about that, your growing up experiences, and kind of how that led to what you're doing now.
Yeah. I spent my whole childhood outside, whether that was running around down at the bay or playing in the creeks or streams or going out on the rivers around here or going down to the Gulf. And we live in such a beautiful place. And my childhood is filled with so many great memories of catching fireflies in mason jars with my dad in the yard, or climbing trees, or making things out of Spanish moss, which, ended up maybe being a little itchy later. But, there was a lot of exploring and playing and picking up rocks to see what lived under them, getting snails and worms. And I felt like life was such a big adventure when I was a kid, and I still do today. And I loved exploring with my friends. We would go down to the bay. I would tell my dad which direction I was going, either towards the well or towards the pipe. And I would just go until dark. Yeah. My dad had a bell that he could ring on the porch that I could sometimes hear or not. But before cell phones and any technology, not any technology, there was technology, but it was limited. And I could watch one TV show when I came home from school. But then after that, I needed to get outside. And I'm really grateful for that. I was a little annoyed at that when I was a kid, because I didn't get to watch all the shows or see all the things or play all the computer games. And my dad would always get on to me, even when we were driving down the road, if I wanted to play on a Game Boy or something, he would say, "No, put that away and look out the window." Or he would point out the clouds and say, "Hey, Brinkley, look at the clouds right now." He would always point things out, and sometimes I would roll my eyes. "Dad, okay, I see them," But I'm so grateful for that because I notice all the beautiful things in the world around us now, and I'm able to point those out to the children at our school. And
that's great. And you're younger than I am, but when I was growing up, we didn't have technology, is probably a strong word, but we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have Game Boys. We didn't have the things that are portable now. When I was in elementary school, the big thing that came out was the Atari. So I'm dating myself, but that was back in the 80s, right? And so we did. We rode our bicycles. We left home in the afternoon after school, and we would come home by dark for supper and whatnot. So a lot of that is lost, I think, on today's youth. So I know part of probably what you want to do with Nature Connect is bring some of that back to the children who may not have parents who were like yours that maybe, forced you or encouraged you to go outside and commune with nature, I guess, right?
Yeah. The reason I wanted to start Nature Connect is because I saw so many children spending time inside in front of screens with that dulled out look in their eye, which childhood to me is all about experiencing that excitement about life and having that spark in your eye and that sense of wonder and awe at the world around you. And I wanted for kids to have that appreciation of the outdoors too, so that when they grow up, they want to protect it and take care of this place where we live. And I thought, well, who are going to be the next generation of conservationists and scientists and environmentalists if they don't have their hands in the dirt, if they aren't climbing trees, if they don't have that connection as a child, then they're not going to grow up into adults who want to take care of the place where we live.
I think that's wonderful. So Nature Connect is what then? Tell us, we've talked all around it. So what exactly is Nature Connect?
So Nature Connect is an outdoor education program in the area. It's a nature school. It's a place for children to experience, explore the outdoors, learn about the place where we live. My goal is that they develop an appreciation of the outdoors so they'll grow up into the next generation of environmental stewards. There have been so many adults that have been asking, well, do you have classes for adults? So we are expanding and offering some classes for adults now. But it is primarily a program for children. Okay, that's great. So you grew up in Mobile County along the shores of Mobile Bay, playing outside. You went to school at UNC Wilmington. Yes.
Majored in environmental science.
Yes.
So take me from there. You're in college studying that. where you are now, I mean, what was the genesis of the idea? How did you go about making a dream at one point a reality?
Yes. Well, studying environmental science, I was involved in many environmental efforts in the community in Wilmington. One of the efforts was to stop a cement plant from being built on the Cape Fear River there. It just wasn't the right location for an industry like that. And that effort started out as a small group, about 10 of us sitting around a table saying, how do we stop a multi-million-dollar international corporation from building here, on our riverbanks? And I connected with the community there because I grew up on the rivers around here, and I knew how I would feel if an industry like that were being built on one of the rivers, like Fish River or Magnolia River, So this group of people, we put our minds together, and none of us knew the answers, but we started out with a clipboard talking to one citizen at a time and getting doctors and scientists on board. And over the course of 8 years, we got over 20,000 people involved, and we stopped the cement plant from being built on the river. And in that effort, I really saw that a small group of citizens, if you put your minds together and all your resources and skills together, that you can make a difference. And that really helped me to see that really anything is possible. So I was involved with many environmental groups and conservation groups. And so out of college, I started working with some environmental nonprofits. And it was really when I was talking to my peers, what makes you do this kind of work, this conservation work? And they would say, well, I spent my childhood, climbing trees, or I spent my childhood playing in the creek behind the house, or every one of them was doing environmental work because of their childhood. And I realized, of course, I was doing it for the same reasons. And my dad has always encouraged me to think about, how can you make a contribution to your community? What's the difference that you can make? Always be thinking about making a positive difference in the world around you. And so I started thinking, well, how can I personally make the biggest difference? Well, I can work in environmental nonprofits and work, in advocacy and legal work to protect the environment. But really, what about long term? What about the generations to come? If the children now aren't spending time outside connected with the outdoors, then who is going to be the next round of people working to keep our air and water clean and protect wild spaces? And so I thought, I just, I really started to notice and think about if the children are disconnected from the outdoors, then what's going to happen to our natural spaces. And I was speaking one day with my friend Anna, and she was a career coach, and she had posted something on the internet that said, what if it weren't such a struggle to make the world a better place? And I thought, well, wait a second. I thought it was inherently, if you want to make a difference, it has to be a struggle. And so it caught my attention, and I called her and started talking with her, and she asked me, if you could be doing anything, if you had all the time, money, resources, support you needed, what is it that you'd love to do? And I said, well, this isn't a real job. This isn't a real job, but I would love to be with kids in the outdoors, exploring, playing, learning about the outdoors. And I had all these reasons why it wasn't possible, in my head. Yeah. I couldn't make a living doing it. There's not enough people that want that. There's so many steps. The vision was so big that I didn't know how to get there, or I didn't see the path clearly for how I could spend my life doing that work. Yeah. And ended up hiring her as my coach because she helped me to see the possibility that that could happen. And she helped me to take steps along the way to overcome any of the thoughts that were in my way. When I'd get to the next step in the road and everything in my mind would say, turn back, or don't go there, or, all the things our minds tell us to keep us where we are, keep us in our comfort zone. And she helped me to overcome those mental barriers or roadblocks to keep moving forward towards my dream of a nature school. And the more questions she asked, it's like the vision was already inside of me. And it just took her, asking the right questions for me to uncover for myself, what is it I'd love to spend my life doing? Yeah. Through her support and through the support of so many teachers and mentors and family members and friends, it was just one little step at a time until now. I was just sitting this morning thinking, before I came over here, is still really hard to believe, to wrap my head around that my dream is real. It's happening, you know, and we had an event last week where hundreds of families came to participate. It was a Halloween event. It was called the Enchanted Forest. There was a campfire and there were hundreds of people. They were trick-or-treating at the trees, and we had a storyteller, and one of the parents was singing songs, and everybody was so happy and enjoying the outdoors and enjoying time with each other. And I thought, wow, this is my dream come true, to build a community of people who are enjoying time with each other in the outdoors and the place where we live. I have many moments like that when I realize it is truly here. It's the most fulfilling work I could possibly imagine, to see the differences this school is making in the lives of children and their families in the community.
That's amazing, and your passion is obvious, and the fact that you are living, I mean, you're quite literally living your dream, right? I mean, that's what I think a lot of people who have that entrepreneurial spirit strive for. But I think a good lesson in what you just talked about is the fact that one mistake I think maybe a lot of people make that are trying to do something that they are passionate about is that they feel like they're on their own, right? I mean, they're either rugged individualists and they don't seek help, or they don't seek the right help. But from what you said, and in your show primer, you said that one of the things that you would tell somebody is to ask for support, right?
Yes.
I mean, I think a lot of people are willing to accept it if it's offered, but you need to go one step further and actually ask for support, which is what you did with Anna, it sounds like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, there's no way I could have ever done this alone. And it's so meaningful to do this with a whole community of people. When we have a big community event, everyone is a part of making that happen. Mm-hmm. And you're right. When we think about a dream or a big goal, we can think, oh, well, that's not really for me. That's for those other people that are successful, you know, but that's not really something that I could do, or something like that. Sometimes we might have thoughts like that.
It sounds like one of your biggest challenges was getting outside of your own head, right?
Yes.
I mean, because, and I'm not trying to minimize the process and the practical things that went into making your dream a reality, but it sounds like one of the biggest struggles from what I'm hearing is your own thoughts and doubts, and not really maybe having I don't know, faith might not be the right word, but just not believing maybe that it could actually happen, right?
Right, and that can happen with all of us, especially the more important the dream is to us. It's like the bigger the doubts and the worries are that come along with it. Yeah. And it was really through learning more about how the human brain works. I ended up going to the coaching school and getting my own coaching certification after Anna helped me create Nature Connect, and I wanted to help other people bring their visions and dreams into reality. Yeah,
very cool. You talked about your parents, your dad, you talked about Anna. Any other mentors or influences along the way that stand out to you?
So many.
Yeah.
My mom continually inspires me every day because she's also an entrepreneur and has always been. She's had many different businesses in her life, and I've seen both of my parents, when they want to do something, they do it. They figure out how to do it. And so I grew up thinking, okay, you know, you can really do anything if you put your mind to it and ask for support. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my mom, she sits down every morning with her cup of coffee and gets out her notebook, and she will write down her goals for the day, her goals for the week. She takes consistent steps towards her dreams. She's a musician. She practices music every day. She plays 5 different instruments.
Wow.
Her dedication to how she wants to live her life and reaching the goals in her life has always been inspiring too. I've never seen someone take so much consistent action. But that's really how things happen. We can't just jump to our goals. We have to take all the steps along the way. Right.
So, I mean, you mentioned she writes down her list or goals every day, but goal setting is an important part of being successful, I would think. And they really can't be these things in the back of your mind, I don't think. I mean, you have to literally take steps to formalize them, right? And
you do.
And, so you can track your progress and that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Writing down your vision, too. I remember it was a little daunting to write down my vision for Nature Connect in the beginning. But as soon as I got the juices flowing, you know, and writing it down and got it all on paper, anytime I experienced doubts and worries that I couldn't make it happen, I could read my vision again and then remind myself why I'm doing it, you know, and just take that one little next step. That's what I learned through coaching, is to ask myself the question, what is one small step that someone with my vision would do next? And then just take that next step. I remember thinking, how am I going to start a whole school? I had just moved back to Alabama, and we don't even have one student yet, and realizing, well, it's just that first conversation. It's just that next conversation with the family that you see at the park, or the next conversation with a family friend. And through one little step at a time, one person joining at a time, now it's a full-on school.
Yeah, that's awesome. What is your formal vision for Nature Connect?
My vision for Nature Connect is that children learn to love and appreciate the outdoors and develop a love for learning, so that when they grow up, they will be the next generation of leaders and environmental stewards in their communities.
Yeah, that's great. All right, so very passionate about what you do. Tell me the most rewarding thing so far with going through the whole process, from having the dream to seeing it become a reality. And you can give me a couple of things. I'm sure it's hard to pin down just one, but when you look at your life now and your career, what is the most rewarding thing that you have going today?
The most rewarding thing is seeing the difference that this program is making in the lives of children and their families. Seeing children become more comfortable in the outdoors or learn new ways of interacting with the outdoors. Sometimes when a child starts with us and we step into an area of the woods, they might just stand there and look at the adults for what's supposed to happen now, looking for guidance or direction. And our goal is that the children use their own imagination and creativity, and they interact with their peers, and they build meaningful friendships, and they come up with their games and adventures together. And if left to their own devices, they'll pick up a big log, and maybe 4 preschoolers will be working together to move this big log, and they turn it into a seesaw, and it's this big thing, or they turn it into a pirate ship, and it's so much better than any adult could come up with. It's amazing to see the children become empowered in their own physical capabilities, to learn how to climb up a hillside and learn how to hold on to different roots and test it before they put all their weight on it and things like that. To see their confidence build over time, to see the look on their face when they're proud of themselves, or to see when they are helping a friend up the hill, or, a friend trips and falls on a root and they stop and ask if they're okay and they help them up. Or what's also fulfilling is hearing their laughter and just the pure joy and excitement of being a kid, that feeling fully alive and playing and running and being out of breath, and just that big smile on the flushed cheeks. And this morning, the kids were wanting to water the flowers, and so we had watering pails and we were watering the flowers, and then they wanted to go see the chickens, and they were imitating the sounds the chickens were making. And then we went to opening circle, and we sat in circle and sang songs and told stories and read some books. And also the children share what they're thankful for each morning. And that's one of my favorite moments in the day, to sit with them as they think about what is something that makes them happy that day, or what makes them thankful. And sometimes it can be pretty profound.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I don't know. I feel like this is what childhood's all about, is to play and explore and get dirty and catch frogs and hold a frog out to your friend and the other friend squeals and runs away. I mean, it's just to build forts and all that.
Carrie, I'm getting all the feels. I don't know. This is bringing back all kind of wonderful memories of childhood and whatnot. So that is good stuff. Let me ask you this. You're having a wonderful time, obviously, but there are also challenges. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, it's not all sunshine and roses all the time, right? So being the boss and being the visionary and the leader has its challenges. So talk about, what are some of your challenges that you face that you have to deal with?
Probably one of the biggest challenges is that ultimately I'm responsible for every aspect of how this goes. Mm-hmm. That can be a lot of responsibility. It is a lot of responsibility. To have all of these amazing children in our care is a huge responsibility. That weighs on me sometimes, especially if I'm not there. Now that we've grown so much, I can't be at all the programs. And so it's really, I have to spend a lot of time and energy with the staff training to make sure that they can handle any situation and that I feel comfortable and trust in their abilities to do that. So I would say the responsibility of it all.
Could be a lot of stress, I would think.
Yeah. The being outside with the kids and the joy of it all balances that out. Sure. I have to make sure, if I'm stressed in the office, I have to make sure that I'm spending equal amount of time outside with the kids for my own self too. Yeah. Let's see, another challenge. The work never ends. Mm-hmm. So the work-life balance, figuring out how do I accomplish all the things that I can and how to prioritize those things so that they can all get done.
Yeah.
But I'm not staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning getting them done.
So how do you flip the switch, or do you flip the switch? I mean, do you have any practical advice on how you personally have found any beneficial tips or tricks that you can offer? Because I know
Sure.
I would almost bet that any entrepreneur that we would bring in here would say that that's probably at the very top of their list, or close to it, I would think.
Right. Especially with smartphones in your hand when
Right.
you're at home. It can be easy to check email late at night, you know. And I'm guilty of it. I mean, I even did it last night and this morning. Checked email from my phone at my house. I'm always reminding myself the importance of setting aside the phone.
Yeah.
I made sure I got an office phone, and that stays at the office. And my laptop stays at the office.
Okay.
And I set a time for myself of when I'm going to leave the office, and then I do my best to even if I don't physically engage with my phone, for instance, with email, I have to remind myself just to be in the present moment and try not to think about work too. So to refocus on other things. So focus on family members and friends, or I'm learning how to play the banjo, so I can.
Okay. Cool.
Inspired by my mom and her musical abilities. So remembering to do hobbies and to do the things that nourish me, working in my garden or doing chicken chores or things like that around the house, going for walks on the bay, just remembering to also enjoy the place where we live, because that's the whole reason that I'm doing this, is to remind people to enjoy, to stop, slow down, and enjoy the place where we live. And if I'm going to be saying and showing through our work how important that is, then I also need to do that too. And if I show up to the school all stressed out about all the things in the office and I'm not present with the kids, then I've lost something. Right. You can only give what you have to give. So reminding myself all the time, and I get friends to help me remember to take care of myself so that I can contribute to the lives of others.
Good stuff. But I am interested in the mechanics of the school. And is this something that's done in conjunction with their other traditional schooling, or is this a school that this is their school that they go to? And what ages do you deal with? I mean, all the questions I have, and it's intriguing to me.
So we have a family class for ages 5 and under to come with their parents, and we go for walks in the woods. And then we have a full-time preschool. Okay. So we have a 5-day-a-week preschool for ages 3 to 5, and children can come 2, 3, or 5 days a week. The classes run from 9 to 1 each day. And then we have homeschool classes that meet multiple days a week for the older children.
Okay.
They also meet from 9 to 1, and we have an after-school program for older kids, and we have a summer program which has tripled in the last year.
Oh, wow.
We have many different summer camps that happen either at the bay or at lakes around here, and
that's a lot. I mean,
that's
that's more than I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't that.
And we also have a North Carolina chapter. So I started all of this in Wilmington, North Carolina, where I went to college.
Really?
We have the same amount of classes. We have a farm school up there, a 5-day-a-week homeschool program up there, summer camps, all of that.
Good grief. So how many people does it take to keep this thing going? This is an operation. This is bigger than I thought it was. I'll be quite honest. So what size is your team?
During the summer, we have the biggest team. So last summer, I think we had 26 on the team.
Wow. And
right now, we have about 15.
Okay, but still, that's a lot of bodies to manage, especially being in 2 states.
Yes, it is.
Hours and hours apart.
It takes incredible leaders, and I'm incredibly grateful to all the people who are on the team that put their heart and soul into this work. Everybody who does this work truly believes in it, and you can tell. It shines through in all the work that they do. Yeah, it definitely takes a whole village, not only the teachers, but all the parents that are willing to say yes to a crazy idea like this, for their children. And it takes all the public parks, the nature parks where we are, or private landowners that are willing to share their amazing woods or lake with us. Our preschool is based at Church of the Apostles, and it's incredible there. They have all these woods with trails and a freshwater creek that runs along the property, and the church has been so generous to have us there. And they had a barn on the property, and they asked us last year if we'd like to use it, and we said, well, yes, we would love that. And so we renovated the barn this last year in partnership with the church, and so now we have a full schoolhouse for the first time. Yeah, it takes a whole community. I've yet to speak with someone who didn't think it was a good idea to get kids outside. It's like you were saying, we all have such great memories of playing outside as a kid, and everybody wants that for kids today. And they know and realize that it's not happening for children the same way it was for us when we were kids. And really, it's up to us to keep that alive and to help children to see a childhood without so much technology and screens and to experience the benefits of that, which is hard when technology is so prevalent and kids are so addicted to it, you know? And so it's really important for those of us who know what that childhood is like to keep that alive.
Absolutely.
For the kids today.
Well, as soon as you start the adult program, let me know because I'm signing up. This is great. We've got to start wrapping up, but I do want to mention one thing that we ask for any advice that you would have, and I think we touched on it a little bit before. We said don't be afraid to ask for support, but one thing that you put that I thought was very insightful is to create accountability for yourself.
Yes.
In an organization, well, I know you have an organization, but I mean, when you're not the visionary or the leader or the boss, I guess, quote boss, it's easy to have accountability because you'll have people that'll impose that accountability upon you, right?
Right.
Well, how do you create self-accountability? Because ultimately the buck stops with you. So what does that look like practically as far as creating self-accountability?
Right. So I still work with Anna, my coach,
Okay.
and I set goals with her. And so that provides accountability for me there. I tell people that I'm going to be somewhere or that I'm going to do something because I'll follow through on my word if other people are involved. If I just tell myself that I'm going to do this thing, then sometimes it can get pushed back as the more urgent matters continue to take the stage. So if I tell other people, then I'll follow through on it.
That's good stuff. All right, one last question. Tell me, there probably is not a typical day, but tell me what a typical day looks like for you, if they're as close as you can get, because I'm just curious with all the kids and all the things that you get to do. What does a day look like in your life?
Yes, every day is different. Either I'm spending time in the office working on bigger picture things like staff training manuals and things like that, or I am out with the kids, which are my favorite days, and I will go to the school and take part in the classes, and maybe I'll teach a lesson or go on an adventure with them to the creek and make sure that I am fully involved with all aspects of the organization. I really don't have a typical day. I'm working on that. I'm working on having a more consistent schedule, and where I have a couple of days in the office and a couple of days in the field, and I can fully be present where I am. Otherwise, my mind is on too many different things. So I'm shifting my schedule, and that's been really rewarding. And the only reason I'm able to do that is because of our team. And I sit down and talk with the team about all the things that need to happen with the organization, and we figure out how we're going to do it together. And I think about we could not be where we are today without all the people, amazing people that are involved with the organization. Mm-hmm. There's a mother at our school that just planted a whole pollinator garden, and that's something that's been on my list for years, and it hasn't happened, and she just did it. And so there are all these different contributions that people make to make all this happen, and it's really amazing.
That's good stuff. We could talk much longer because I have so many questions about just how this whole thing works. But I think it's wonderful. I'm excited that you are offering this to children because I do, like you, think it's very important for them to be able to understand nature and exist in it, right? Because we're the stewards of the earth that God's given us, and so that's very important.
Yes.
If people want to know more about Nature Connect, they can go to your website. We will have all that information in the show notes. Brinkley, thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
Thank you so much for having me.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes and Spotify. It definitely helps us in the ratings, and it also makes it easier for other folks to find the podcast. And as always, a big thank you to producer and editor Carrie Wolf. Playing Above the Line is sponsored by Aviso Group. If you want to know more about who we are and what we do, you can visit our website at avisogroup.com. That's AVIZO group.com. You can also check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Thanks for listening.